Warren, thank you so much for coming here today to talk with us about the Jackbox Naughty Pack. Jackbox is taking its first official step into M-rated games. Before we get to talking about the game, I did want to ask for you, though, for people who aren't aware, let me know a bit about yourself and your history in the video games and, Jackbox.
Sure. Yeah, I started with Jackbox in 2012, writing for You Don't Know Jack on Facebook. I don't know how many people out there were playing on that. I feel like we had like a very hardcore group of fans. And then I was a contract writer, which we hired a lot of people from like the improv community, which is kind of how I came to be writing for Jackbox. So I was kind of in and out, and then once we started doing Jackbox Party Pack 1, I came back full time around that time, something like that, and wrote very heavily on the Jack in Party Pack 1, and then
Mhm.
really started full time. I think was the big one with Quiplash. So and then after that was hired on full time, and they can't get rid of me since then. So. But yeah, I've written on all the
Fantastic.
packs, all the side games, things like that. So anything from the Party Pack era on, there you've probably got my name right there in the credits. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I've probably played every single one of them.
Oh,
For the Naughty Pack, you're now the director of Let Me
mhm.
Finish. So tell me about this entirely new Jackbox game.
Yeah. So it was pitched by the lead editorial Ramel. Pitched this game that just had us all giggling from the start. The original title was "Where's the Butt?" And so because like the first image he put up had like a mailbox that had very rounded parts, and it's like, "Where's the butt?" And it was one of those things where the second he asked it, in your mind, you're just like, well, there's only one butt on this mailbox. So,
Mhm.
like, how is this going to be a game? But everybody circled something else and had very like big opinions about like why everyone else was wrong. So, so whenever we have people not yelling at each other, but getting very wound up about something, it's like, okay, we're on to something here. And Ramel just has a very good I feel like for those type of things of like getting people engaged and getting to care about something. So like kudos to him for again tapping into our, you know, inner argument guy.
I mean, that sounds like an incredibly successful pitch if you can put an image up and everyone gets the joke and the punchline and the argument factor.
Very much. I think I've said this in other interviews in the past. It's kind of like why something like Quiplash works, where we should be able to put something up there, and in your mind is already putting things together. Kind of like I can't wait to answer this. Like, and those are like when the secret sauce really works together. So yeah, so yes, but that's usually the secret to our game is like when the players are already like getting ahead of you, being like, oh, I can't wait to do this thing. So yeah.
And that kind of factors into a new mechanic for Let Me Finish versus Quiplash, where it's kind of one person against another. There's a
Mhm.
new added mechanic where you can jump in from the audience. So where did that come from?
Honestly, just from what I was saying, like we were playing it as a one-on-one game and moving on. And as we started like playing this, people are like, well, I've got something to say about that. And it's like, oh, well, if, if a player says they want to do something, we need to listen. And so like, yeah, okay, great. We'll find a way to get you in there. And so we tried different versions of like making it a free for all, but that doesn't have quite enough structure on it to like, because then there's also people that want to play to win instead of like, so it, as through the development period, we tried lots of stuff. We gave it a lot of like room to breathe to be like, well, what's the best version of this? Like, let's say I come to the game, I'm very competitive. It's like, I really want to get a lot of points in this. Well, you can play this game and do that. That can scratch that itch. If you're someone who just wants to come and draw crude stuff and make your joke and be like, I don't care if I win, I got my jokes in, which is typically how I play, then that's for you as well. So the reason we put the jump in is like we didn't want like some great image to come up and for a player to be like, oh well, I really wanted that one, but now I don't get it. So it's like, okay, well, you get on in there and you can get some points as well. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And who doesn't like telling their friend why they're wrong about where the mailbox's butt is?
I know. Well, like I said, when we were doing it internally, we had people like getting, very opinionated very fast. And then we did external play tests and we had one recorded and it happened whatever night, and the next morning I came and watched the video, and people were standing up and going to their TV and pointing, just like, I was like, okay, we got it. This is, yeah.
I gotta imagine your office security cameras just catch the most insane stuff.
Possibly so. I've never seen the footage reviewed, but yeah, I'm sure some of our playtests. That's a good idea. We should try to record these for posterity.
So for Let Me Finish, you've taken on the role of director, not your first
Mhm.
time as director, but you're also a member of the design team and obviously a contributing writer. What does the day-to-day look like throughout production?
A lot of it, especially when you're trying to like kind of crack the nut. Um, it's a lot of just, I feel like I always tell my wife, it's like, I don't know what I got done today, but my brain is exhausted. Where it's like you're trying to think through how can I, well, it's just like when we talked a minute ago, like as a player, what do I want? How can I accentuate what's working about the game and elevate your experience? So that's a lot of the design we try to go through. What's a very simple, elegant way to make sure you're engaged, you know what we're asking of you, and you can do this fun thing that you couldn't just do at your own house. Like that's,
Mhm.
if you can just pick it up and do it with your friends, it's like, well, then why did we make it, that sort of thing. um so a lot of it, and then in our design team, we are very collaborative, so it's like we get into a room. I think we really got into a great place over the last like 6 7 years of hearing everyone's ideas, but like not feeling bad if it doesn't immediately get picked up and ran with, because everyone knows like uh, you're going to have way more ideas. Like, so if something comes up and it fits, it just we just kind of already acknowledge it. It's like a, I don't know how to really describe it. It's like no one really gets their feelings hurt. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
well, we know we're all going to have more great ideas, so it's like the design meetings are a lot of fun at Jackbox, because we're usually talking about something pretty ridiculous. And it's I would liken it to like a Apollo 13, where we're trying to solve this problem, but this thing we're trying to solve is, again, it's probably about something's butt. It's like, so yeah.
I mean, if it's a place where everyone's free to throw stuff out, it sounds like a very like constructive, productive, and safe writing room and pitch room to be in.
Very much. I think we've never really had to say to people like, don't let your ego get in the way. People just don't bring a lot of ego to it. I think it's just that the idea is either what supports the game and what's helping the game kind of immediately. And a lot of times if we don't know, we test it out. Like we've had plenty of design decisions where it's kind of like, well, we honestly don't know. You know how we can find out? Let's put together a quick play test and see what
Yeah.
happens. And then it'll kind of bear itself out. So yeah.
Knowing that this is the first time that Jackbox has officially tread into the M rating, how are you able to find the right balance between prompts that would add a little bit more kick than a regular Jackbox game, but not enough spice to become uncomfortable?
Yeah, that is, it's tricky. Sometimes it is very much like you know it when you know it. I
Mhm.
think as much as anything, like one thing we've always tried to do at Jackbox is like, if you write a prompt or whatever you're putting into a game, you just don't want anyone to say like, oh man, that really ruined my night, or that like,
Yeah.
I really wish that didn't pop up. And that can be across many different topics and things like that. So we really try to have open ears to like, internally and externally. So if someone's like, hey, did you ever think about the way this is landing, and maybe it didn't occur to us, we're quick to say like, oh, like if someone is saying that, that's your experience and we receive that. With this, a lot of it is like people had to opt in, because we wanted to create like a very safe space to like work on this product. So,
Yeah.
but you could also opt out. We weren't like, oh, you opted in, so it's like, oh, okay, well, if
So
this
you're
is,
stuck? No.
yeah, it very much. It's like, okay, well, if this is going to a place that you're not comfortable with, A, we want to know why, and maybe we can bring it to take a different angle on it, things like that. Or, maybe this is just your own personal choice and you've decided that's not for you. But we just listen. I think that's the biggest thing to do. Everybody has their own experiences and things they bring into these sort of things. So we just want to be compassionate to that, but at the same time, like we also know we need to make something really fun and silly. So it's like, how do we find the things that every person can say that is a silly thing, it's
Mhm.
also a mature thing, but we can all agree that that is a fun topic to explore. That's right. So it's trying to find that middle part where everyone can say, yes, this is a great place to live and have your party. So yeah.
Fantastic. It definitely felt like we had a press preview a few weeks ago, and I think it felt like some of the prompts had definitely been selected for for a press opt-in audience.
Oh,
Running the
sure.
game a few times for myself at home, it's definitely like I can see where the mature is coming from now.
Yeah, yeah. I can speak mostly. I worked a little bit on Drawful and then switched over to Let Me Finish. I I just think the editorial like deserves a lot of credit. The people who were like full time on that of just like finding that good balance of like, yeah, this is it's naughty. Like I think that's a very proper word for it, where it's like it's not
Mhm.
okay, that's gross or okay, that's terrible. It's like, oh, it's naughty. We're having a good time. So
Mhm.
yeah,
It's naughty got that little bit of cheek to it. It's not
yeah.
naughty as in like you wouldn't want to say this. Well, you might not want to say it around your grandmother anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know everyone's grandmother, but probably as a rule, yeah. So
So it's not uncommon, even with the G-rated prompts, for someone's home Jackbox game to turn into a very M-rated experience. Uh, are you and the team looking forward to, a little bit fearful for what you might start to see showing up on social media when
we're
released?
we're refusing to look, so that's a no. No, not really. We know what's happening down there. I mean, it's internally we even put that type of stuff, and there's probably even stuff I've written in the past being like, this is technically a G-rated prompt, but I know what you're gonna put. Like,
Mhm.
so it's like there's always been that balance. Um, I mean, it's yeah, it's like it's when you create anything, it's like you just have to turn it loose and see what people do. But I do think we going back to like just kind of having a consideration for how the player's experience is going to go. We would then have an eye towards something where it's like, well, this prompt, like while it seems not harmful, could quickly be spun that way. So let's rethink that one. So I know that's come up. I don't have a specific example off the top of my head, but I
Mhm.
know we've had that conversation a bunch. It's like, okay, yeah, on its face, this is good, but let's if we don't need it, I do think people could spin that in a not great way. So do we need it?
So it's
Probably not.
like
So
so it's like thinking up baby names and trying to preempt how a kid might get bullied for it. It's like, how can we look
exactly.
forward to the future to stop that potential disaster?
Exactly. And I mean, all you can do is make your best effort, but I think like you can't not make an effort. So I
Mhm.
like we're trying to be mindful of it and just do our best to help people out in that way. So
Jackbox has absolutely been defined by its controller interface. The fact that anyone with a smartphone can whip it out and join a game. Are there any ways that Let Me Finish uses the interface that hasn't been done in previous Jackbox games?
yeah, which may lead to a lot of bad stuff, but we have the laser pointer, which we let you draw on the picture to obviously make your selection, and not only that, I think it's always fun to watch people get creative with it, where it's like I'm going to go ahead and illustrate all that I'm talking about, and so you end up with these monstrosities. But then further, it's like you can if you really want to get creative with the laser pointer, it's something that will draw and then be disappearing while you do it. So you at least like get a
Mm.
chance to make something, but then it's not permanently etched yeah, up there. So
Plausible
that
deniability.
exactly. I didn't draw anything. What are you talking about? So but it's just another presentation tool that we thought would be very helpful. And then so far it's been like, yielded a lot of really funny uses and things like that. So yeah.
And kind of, taking a step back from the Naughty Pack to Jackbox games in general, how is the way that Jackbox sets up and creates their games different from something that someone might expect from a traditional game development environment?
Um, I guess in that respect, are you talking about like how do we put a pack together, or like just how do we come up with like a game in general?
Or
Or
just between the idea of like, we're building a pack and we've got multiple different products going on. How much cross-pollination is there? How much, does someone get to be the let me finish guy kind of thing?
sure, okay, yeah. When we have these games, like the teams are, I wouldn't say we're siloed, but it's like we'll kind of have our heads down working, and then we will have company-wide play tests at least once a week. So then it's nice to be able to get all the input from the studio at large, and people who are assigned to different teams get to see it with fresh eyes, and
Mm,
they'll give their opinions, and what was working for them, what wasn't working for them. And then we will say, take those notes, go work on it for 3 or 4 days, and come back with a new play test. So it's like, and then people on, like, say, the Let Me Finish team were playing Dirty Drawful and faking it all night long, and so got to have opinions about that like aren't necessarily influenced by seeing it every day, which is very helpful. So, and the nice thing about Jackbox, everyone uh, has like an opinion. No, there's no hierarchy of opinions. Does that make sense? Like, where it's like, if you're a player and a user, your opinion is warranted and valid, and we listen to it because that's the people that are going to be playing, out in the wild. So we want to hear that. It's like, so.
yeah.
But as far as like then, I think this is what you're asking too, across different pack or different games, there's like different, obviously, things going on in each game. So it's very nice to like have that break. Like if you're doing a drawing game, it's like, well, I'm gonna go play this trivia game on Fridays or Thursdays whenever we decide to do it. So it's like it does like keep you fresh and keep you engaged with the other products in a pack. So yeah.
After successfully releasing, party pack after party pack after party pack, especially during the pandemic, what do you think is the Jackbox Games secret sauce? The secret to success.
Obviously, like the phones as controllers has been like so huge, and I'm not really telling you anything new there, but like it's kind of our unofficial, like, mantra we have is like, we just want to make sure people are coming together when they play these games. So
Mhm.
we don't want people to feel isolated or anything. It's like the whole thing should be like, you should be making memories in this game that you're talking about 3 years later, like, creating those inside jokes. So to me, it's like having the phones as controllers is such a big part of that. It's because you know how it is, like, sometimes just getting a different type of game up and going that maybe doesn't have that. It's like, whether it's a board game or something like that, you've got to have some buy-in from everyone there.
Mhm.
Having that ease of access to just get into a game you're going to play for 15 to 20 minutes. Oh, we had some great laughs, and maybe you play more, maybe you don't, but like you created that quick memory with everyone there and had such a great time. And I think that's the tech we do. I think it's then the editorial, it's the game design we put into it. Everything is geared towards, like, we really want moments to like solidify with a group where it's like I said, we want you talking about a game moment years down the road. So
I know that I definitely got fair share of inside jokes there that you will never get out of me. Before Let Me Finish, before we're done with this conversation, is there anything about Let Me Finish that you really want to make sure that you get out there, make sure to express, make sure people are excited for when the pack drops on the 12th?
yeah, this is one of our most like player interactive games as far as like getting up and really selling yourself, or your point, I should say. So I really want to see, like I said, I've seen so many external play tests of just like people losing their minds. I can't wait to see some of the streams and just like I've worked on a lot of games at Jackbox. Like I feel like I'm similar to Ramel. I like the ones where people end up yelling at each other. Like, I did push the buttons like that. So if people aren't getting worked up, then I probably need to rethink what I'm doing. But yeah, I think as much as anything, I'm just really looking forward to seeing people engage with some of the crazy stuff the writers put into the game, and like how opinionated people are going to get about really stupid things. So yeah.
It's always good to find a nice comfy hill to die on while playing a
Yeah,
Jackbox
yeah.
game.
People are going to be surprised how opinionated they're going to get about a donuts, whatever. I'll leave that part to the imagination.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. Looking forward to playing.
No, thanks for doing the interview. This is great. So